The worst thing about being born into a family that complains all the time, you're likely to complain all the time because it's a pattern. Not because you really want to complain, it just seems like that's what you do. When that happens, you say that, and when that happens, you feel that way. And we want you to exercise more choices. We want you to feel more open-ended, more like you feel in a daydream, when there's not so much reality that you're knee-jerk responding to. So then you ask yourself, what's my path of least resistance? So which of these statements feels better? I'm going to let them live their lives. I need to guide them so they can live better lives. Which feels better? We know these seem like obvious choices, but you all don't act like they're that obvious. Because you keep patterns going. It might not be possible to imagine some of these cranky ones as being more lighthearted. It might not be easy, but it is easy to be lighthearted about some things. There's a new car commercial, new to Esther. She just saw it for the first time yesterday. And she doesn't know what car is being advertised. She doesn't know anything about it. All she knows is there's a girl in the commercial who seems to be floating around a little bit. Esther loves that feeling. And then there's a red balloon, and she seems to have hold of a red balloon. And then you can see her feet coming right off the ground, which gives you the impression that she's floating. And then you see a glimpse of her floating through space, holding onto the red balloon. And then all of a sudden, she's transported into a really beautiful red car. And Esther thought, that's how I feel when I'm on the road. She thought that was such a great advertisement for the feeling of freedom in a car. It almost feels as good as lifting your feet from, because when you get into your vehicle, if you've learned how to segment intend, you can leave everything that is behind and just focus completely on where you're going. And the universe will treat you with that feeling of divine empowerment, you see. Well, don't you like those thoughts? And aren't those thoughts accessible to you all the time? And if feeling good is the only thing that is necessary to live happily ever after, then why would you assign yourself thoughts that are so close to impossible to feel good about? Why ask yourself to feel good about something that you've never felt good about? Why not pick some new things that are easier to feel good about, like flying with a balloon? And if you don't believe that, get in a car. It's almost as good. Money is a subject like cranky old people. But when you realize that every subject is a stick, and on one end of it is not enough money, and on the other end of it is plenty of money, and then you have to decide where you're going to light on that and practice it apart from what is. That's really the point that we're making that you already understand. We want to get past this point, but the point that we're making that you already understand is what you've been living has trained you to where you are on that stick. And so where you are is where the universe keeps giving you more ideas. And somehow you have to decide that you're going to approach it in a new and different way, which means you sure are not going to find the other end of the stick by listening to your family who has never come close to the other end of the stick. You might want to say to them, I love you guys, but you're on the wrong end of the stick. What stick? The money stick. Every time I get around you, you activate within me not enough money. I'm not blaming you. You've just been doing it a long time and you're stuck on that end of the stick. And I might be sort of too, but I don't want to be stuck on that end of the stick. So I'm not going to talk about money with you anymore because you're stuck on the wrong end of the stick. Oh yes, smarty pants, what are you going to do? That's them talking to you, not us. How are you going to get on the other end of the stick? You got to get hold of a balloon and float a little. You need something to distract you from that end of the stick, which usually means pick up another stick. Pick up another stick. A stick that you're already on the good feeling end of, and then from the good feeling end of one stick, you can get to the good feeling end of another stick. Ooh, that's big. It's so much easier to pick up the good feeling end of a stick and then move to the good feeling end of another stick because they are in the same vibrational genre, than to start on a subject where you are trained or have trained yourself to be on the not good feeling end of the stick and then drag your way up the emotional scale. It's so much easier. So, in a really practical sense, what sticks are easy for you to feel good? Are there any sticks that feel really good that don't have the stench of money attached to them? Puppies. Do you believe that there is a direct relationship from feeling the thrill and the sweetness of puppies and prosperity? So we want to draw it out. We want to paint it out for you. The puppy end of the stick is in the same vibrational vicinity of all of the money in the world that you'd ever want for anything. It's all over there together. It's all over there. It's all over there on that end of the stick. So, can you see the correlation? Imagine a pile of sticks. This end feels really good, this end feels really bad. And you've chosen a stick that you feel really good on. Now you can just leap from stick to stick to stick to stick to stick to stick to stick. There's the relationship stick and the puppy stick and the living happily ever after stick. All those sticks are over there, and you're already predisposed because of your focus on puppies to this end of the sticks. Why does anybody have any problems? Because you felt responsible about something that you're not responsible about. Really? It's that easy? Just find something delightful and be delighted, and then delightful things will come to me? That's it. Find something delightful and be delighted, and then delightful things will come to you in really short order. Once you start approaching life vibrationally and emotionally, then that practice, then you'll be able to go anywhere, talk to anybody about anything. Somebody could innocently hack up your favorite tree. Arrogantly and innocently hack up your favorite tree. And if you've been on this end of the stick enough, you can say, things always work out for me. Things always work out for me. Things are always working out for me. I'm just not letting myself see it because I've chosen to be on the end of the stick that doesn't let me see it for a while. But when you're on this end and this end and this end, this good feeling end, after a while, even though, of course, contrast is going to take you there every now and then, but you don't stay there long. You don't define yourself by that end of the stick. A lot of people get beaten down by life. They don't need to. It only takes a little bit of optimism to call them to the other end of the stick. Have you ever been in a situation where, now we're showing you how to selectively sift even on a stick that is pretty much leaning in a way that doesn't feel so good. Have you ever been around people, maybe several of them, that are complaining and grumpy and grouchy and being their usual unpleasant self, and then you begin playing a table game together or going to a sport event together or doing something that is a departure from what is normal and discovering humor in them that you didn't know was there and catching glimpses of them being tuned in. Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever said to someone, boy, I didn't expect to hear that from you. I've labeled you as grouchy. I don't know how that clever thing got out in my expectation of you. Must have happened because I've been being positive about other things and you just slipped in. Which is our way of saying to you that a lot of the behavior that you see in others you're asking for. Because people will rise or lower to your expectation. So when you give someone a label, boy, that's a strong expectation. And it's not easy. Even if they are being delightful in a moment, you're going to miss it. This is an analogy that we like to offer. So imagine that you're watching television and all of the bad stuff that happened in this whole day has all been condensed into one moment of broadcast. And it goes zip on the screen. And you say, what was that? And somebody says, that's all the negative stuff that happened in the day. You say, oh, well, sometimes that's all the good stuff you're going to get out of a relative. Zip, what was that? That was delight. That was delight. You just really tune to it. You have to really watch for that delightful stuff because it comes and goes quick. And eventually, in the same way that you've made other things more dominant, more positive ends of the stick more dominant than the negative end of that one stick. And after a little while, you will be so practiced at that then you will be a better selective sifter where you can find delightful moments. And the more you find them and emphasize them within yourself, then the more the universe must bring those aspects to the forefront of your relationship with them. Have you ever been assigned the responsibility of tending children that aren't your own and found them to be delightful when with others they have a totally different reputation? It's because the mix of you and them is different than the mix of them with someone else. Don't you find yourself sometimes being more delightful with some people than with others? Don't you say, that person brings out the best in me? And don't you say, that person brings out the worst in me? Well, isn't that about a vibrational mix? Well, we don't want you to be walking around looking for somebody to conditionally bring out the best in you, nor do we want you to assign yourself the responsibility of walking around and bringing the best out in others. We're just explaining to you how it works. And we want to say to you unequivocally, the way you bring the best out in others is by feeling great. And you can't help but to bring the best out in them. But if you say, okay, I'll pay the price of happiness so that I can bring the best out in someone, you've missed our point. But if you say, I would like to feel great, and the results of my feeling great more of the time will be this. So what we're really talking about here is being an actor in life rather than a reactor. Being proactive rather than reactive. Getting out ahead of it rather than knee-jerk responding to it. Segment intending in a positive way rather than segment intending in a negative way. Because through life, even if you've been poking around on the negative end of the stick, you've launched rockets of desires, and so everything that you want is in your vortex, and your inner being is tending all of it. So when you get over there in the vicinity of your vortex, and when you hang around where that vibration is, then what's in your vortex will show itself to you on all subjects. That is how it works. The more it feels not likely to you, then the more general your statement is, the safer you are. If you're very specific about something that you don't believe you can get, then you're practicing the wrong end of the stick. If you're more general about it, you start creeping toward the other end of the stick. I like cars, and I like that commercial, and I like the stability of a good running car, and I like the feeling of a car, and I like the smell of a new car. I like being behind the wheel of a car. In other words, there's no resistance or negative attachment in any of that. Unless you follow it up with, I like the smell of a new car and I'm never going to have one. The more stable you are, then the more detail you can focus on and the faster the momentum will be. It's about knowing where you are before you put your foot on the gas. You don't want to go faster unless you know you're moving in the direction that you want to go. So general will get you feeling better. Specific will make you go faster. If you feel great, then be specific. If you don't feel so good, be general. Saying I'm going to live happily ever after, that doesn't get your juices flowing. And you've heard that so much that most people fight that. When you say, I'm getting good at this, and I understand the laws of the universe. I'm getting pretty clear about that. And I can see that law of attraction is my friend. And I sure do know that my inner being is my friend. And I really like the notion that I put a lot in my vortex. And I like knowing that there is a vibrational reality, and that just because I can't see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it yet, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And sometimes I get a glimpse of it. I can feel it. And I like that light-hearted, happy-hearted feeling that sometimes I get. This is the way that we want to draw you into some really practical, beneficial focus.